Uh, my name is yeah. I hope the audio is all right and you're able to hear me. Thank you so much, Dr. Jana, for having me over for this very important podium, that is Federation of United Doctors. And hope I'm clear. Let me know if you can just send a text to me and let me know whether I'm audible or not. Dr. Jana, can you please let me know whether I'm audible? Okay, so as we know, the topic that was given to me was women empowerment in COVID-19 India. We know that today, world over, we are facing an unprecedented time. ये बहुत ही कठिन समय है पूरे विश्व भर में कि दुनिया ने एक पैंडमिक देखने को मिला है 100 साल में. So after close to 100 years, like we are seeing a pandemic. So the topic was that women, how are they managing this pandemic? What are they doing in this COVID-19? And how can we keep ourselves sane as well as keeping our loved ones sane, and somehow shift our lifestyle to a more sustainable way of living life. So I would talk about my experience, coming from outside the medical fraternity. Yes, my husband, Dr. Fuad Halim, faced a lot of challenges. He was very unwell. This is about 1.5, 2 months ago when he fell seriously ill. So as a spouse, I gave him the kind of emotional support that he needed, that was required, because his case actually became quite critical. So as a spouse and as a mother, I faced a lot of challenges at home, because I had to keep updated with his medical reports that were coming in. I was engaged in the decision making process, so where he needs to be admitted, where he needs to go. And at the same time, I was taking care of 2 young children, their school activities, and along with my work responsibilities, my media responsibilities, and other things that were going on in my life. But I never showed it to anyone that I was facing so many challenges. And I think women are known for their resilience, because we never show that we are facing so many different adversities. So coming back, I will not get into the medical thing because you all are medical practitioners. We will talk about the way, the challenges that women are facing and how we can sustain ourselves in this very difficult time. Now I will just say one thing now. We are of course living in very troubling times, but I think it's got to do with a lot of way we think also. If we remain motivated throughout this entire journey that is taking us to a destination where we don't know when the vaccination will come out, we don't know when the pandemic is going to end. Some people are saying it will take 3 years, some people are saying it will take 1 year. So we really don't know how long this spell for. So what I would advise as a mother and as someone who leads a quite pretty decent a busy life, is that I have been keeping engaged with my work, with my different classes and trainings with my students. I'm engaged with the media every day on different social and political issues. Plus I've got 2 young children of one is a teenager and one is quite young. So I have to see that they are prepared with their assignments every day, their projects, and I'm sitting and I'm emailing their projects every day. Plus I'm also engaged in their activities. What is happening is, in this lockdown, the children are mainly getting affected. They're used to their playgrounds, they're used to going out, they're used to playing with a lot of children. They're missing their school activities, they're missing going to school and playing with the children, sharing the tiffin, very small activities. Now what is happening is, I noticed that during the lockdown, my children were getting angry. They were unable to express themselves, that why are they getting angry. So as a mother, the critical point was to normalize this entire experience as much as possible. So what I was trying to do is, I was trying to take them to little outings. I was taking them to parks, I was taking them to open air kind of places where there's a lot of greenery, like even taking them to a garden or a park where there's not much people. That will also help. Now they are fond of eating food, they are foodies. So of course food does get cooked at home, but I think just a small pastry, a cake, or even eating out, or even ordering food, I don't think we need to be paranoid about it. We need to just ensure that safety parameters are met with. We are washing our hands regularly, we are using a mask, and at the same time we should also encourage children to learn new art like drawing, quilling, coding. I had put my daughter in in coding, and now she's doing quilling. So it was a way of engaging them, keeping them tied up, keeping them busy, and also they learned a new art, because engaging children is really challenging. It's not only about the classes. Now how do they keep themselves busy so that they don't keep thinking about the pandemic 24/7? So obviously they need to be occupied. So my role as a mother was engaging them fruitfully, giving them some exercise every day. Every day I do some kind of yoga with my daughters, the younger one, and she's looking up a lot of recipes at home. She's looking up yoga exercises. She tells me, "Mom, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this posture?" So the children are, actually giving me tips on how to sustain myself. So what I would say is, yes, we are not meeting so many people, we are not meeting in groups, but we can always have a play date with the children, engage, try and, call their best friend over, or they can go to their best friend's house. Do not make the children feel as if it's some kind of a punishment, this pandemic, because pandemics have come and gone. We've had the Spanish flu, we've had the Black Death, and civilization. If you look down in history, you'll see that the human race is so resilient that we have survived all kinds of different pandemics. So I am doing a lot of because my field is training and development, so I take a lot of classes online. I'm doing a lot of webinars with universities as well. I'm engaging with my students through the Zoom classes, and at the same time even the media. Earlier the camera person used to come home, because I do a lot of political and social commentary as well. So now I am logged into Skype, I'm logged into Zoom, and we need to make use of technology. We have a very important tool in front of us, which is technology. So, and a lot of us probably many years ago were computer challenged, technologically challenged, but what is stopping us to learn? It is all self-taught. So we can always update our skill set, and we can learn from our children. Supposing we don't know the usage of an app, supposing we don't know how to use different multimedia tools, we can always ask our children to help us, guide us, and there's so many different tutorials, on YouTube, and we can learn from that. So what is happening is, even in couples, there's a lot of domestic strife that is happening, because 24/7 you get to see the negative side of your partner, of your spouse, and the space is also very constricted. You're living in a constricted space. Earlier, the man is out, the woman is out, the children are in the school, so there was less scope of having fights. But if you see what pandemic is doing, there is another pandemic that is happening, which is disguise. It is not there in the public domain. So a lot of women are facing domestic violence in the pandemic. So I would like to tell them, if you look up, if you Google up, there are a lot of profit agencies, NGOs that are catering to women's need, and they are addressing this domestic violence issues. So they are hidden numbers, and we can always report any incident of domestic violence that happens, and ensure that such incident doesn't occur. So it all depends on us how we look at it. But COVID-19 also, it is showing us how the household dynamic is changing, because what is happening is the domestic responsibilities mainly, 90% of the time it falls on the women's shoulders. Like, see, women along with the work, they have to do cooking, cleaning, and it becomes worse, because research shows that with the financial strain of COVID-19 and with food shortage, with other excessive shortage, it will affect women's nutrition much more than men. And if you look at the pattern in all the developing countries, from Zimbabwe to Bangladesh to India, it is almost similar. So what is happening is, in the lockdown, we of course had a lot of staff support. We had a lot of formal and informal support system for women. So, but the challenge is, it has opened the entire Pandora's box in the digital divide. Today our children have gone into Zoom and they are having the classes there. But what about the schools that do not have access to the digital platform? How do they learn? So a friend of mine, actually, she started a very nice initiative where you can donate your old phones online. So that way those old phones will reach the villages and the other rural side, and the children will have access to those phones, and then they can go online. I think it was a wonderful initiative. So there are a lot of other NGOs that are looking at similar ways on how we can actually bridge the digital divide. So what is happening is, in the absence of formal school, where children are not going to school, the mothers mainly, we have become the educators for the children. So the children are getting homeschooled at this time. So they will learn a lot from you. So I would advise, all you wonderful doctors out there, you all are learned people, and I salute you for the kind of work that you're doing in the pandemic. It's not easy to brave it out and come out and know that there is a threat there, but you all are risking your lives to save us, and you are actually the real heroes. So I salute your spirits, everybody who's listening in to me and everyone who will listen in to me. Today you are actually the real heroes of the country. So I would like to say is that the formal and informal support for women has been curtailed, and that is mainly happening in the other developing countries as well, and this is not only just in India. So we'll see that this whole unequal access to technology will fuel other consequences towards women, especially in the education and the employment arena. As many of the world's children, they're switching to online learning, girls in countries like India may lose out, given that they're less likely than boys to have access to the internet, as I've told you earlier. And as we look at different researches, different analysis, a lot of jobs are moving online post the pandemic, and the digital divide might create and accelerate more job market inequality. So there's a big challenge there for women, in COVID-19 India. So and also, since the jobs are reducing, so this this COVID-19 economic fallout will also have a disastrous result. That means it will reduce the job prospects of women. So I would look at ways on how more women doctors can go online and do consultation from home, because this is one field that should not suffer. and we all believe in better health for all across all the social spectrum, rich, poor, middle class, whatever. So what I would advise is that even if a few doctor friends are not attending their clinic or not going to work formally, they can always go online and create some kind of a online outreach to their patients, where they can interact and get their ensure that they are financially stable. So what we need to do is, we also need to keep in mind as women that we need to cut the excesses out. Earlier we were attending parties, spending on birthdays, but now no one knows when the pandemic is going to end. So what we would do is, of course we need to lead a decent life, but at the same time we need to believe in sustainable living, that is minimal. We only buy what we need, because if you notice, a lot of things that we bought in the past, today there is no consequence or there is no use for those things anymore. Nobody is going to look at a fancy bag, nobody is interested on which holiday you went to. So please stack up on the cash, please save up, please make the right investments, and what is really helpful is a good insurance. Please see that your entire family is protected under some insurance that covers COVID-19, and that will also be a big blessing, a big boon. So we need to also do is that like I said, the job prospects of women are reducing, and the female labor force participation is struggling. Okay, and if women's employment continues to drop post COVID, this will only magnify the damage to their position in families and society. Because women, when they fight for equity, they fight for financial independence. Then only women can talk about equity, which means equal opportunities. So what will happen is that, as I said, it will magnify the damages to their positions in family and society, given that employment is one of the strongest predictors of women's empowerment, strongest, not to mention how important it is in boosting the GDP of the country. So a gender sensitive pandemic response, what do you think it should look like? It begins with a full throttle focus on supporting women who face domestic violence. I have already spoken about domestic violence. And there have been recent court rulings in Delhi that provides a roadmap. That means you should publicize the helplines, relaxing lockdown rules for women to leave home and seek support, and sensitizing the police. It is very important. And initiatives to enhance digital access and skills. I think that truly needs to be scaled up and targeted specifically to low income women. Direct employment programs also need to provide necessary supplies to the women force, and ensure that even women are employed in such a way where they can sit and stitch masks. I think the government of West Bengal also needs to support such work being doing by women, the women who are actually sitting and stitching masks. So I will not deny that the social and economic crisis of COVID-19 should be understood through the lens of gender, and today we need to relook at how we look at our policy making. So it should be restructured now, because this pandemic is teaching us a lot of things. It should be restructured around rebuilding economies and the societies in such ways that empower women to lead a purposeful and a productive as well as a fulfilling life. That is very important. So it's a whole lot of things. It's about keeping you, your loved ones, your children safe. It is about keeping yourself sane. If you don't exercise, please take 1 hour off and ensure you do some kind of exercise. Today you don't need to take formal, you don't need to hire a yoga teacher. You need to There's so many videos available on yoga on YouTube. Why aren't we taking advantage of that? I think we can easily take advantages of that if we have the means. So today, yes, earlier the mobile phones were not allowed in school, but the irony is that the entire school is in the mobile. So let us not undermine the reach that technology has given us. So what is happening is a lot of work for women. They are feeling a lot of stress in the COVID-19 because they have their work, plus they have to come back home and look at the domestic responsibilities that they have. So it's adding to a lot of stress. And I've told you that 47% of Indian women are experiencing some stress or some anxiety during because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And there was a report in the 10th edition of the LinkedIn Workforce Confidence Index that said that there's been a total disproportionate impact of women in these testing times. This has been totally disproportionate. The survey also underscores the challenges of childcare during the pandemic. So what is happening is that the COVID pandemic's impact on India's working mothers and working women, and the cautious optimism of freelancers towards personal finances and their career prospects, it's all changing. And what we are doing today is a lot of digital working, remote working, and it's led to a more challenging road for India's working mothers. As different surveys shows that around 1 in 3, that means only 31% of working mothers are currently providing child care full time, as compared to nearly 1 in 5, that means 17% working fathers. So have you seen the whole dichotomy there? It's disproportionate. So what is more worrying is that 2 in 5, that is 44% women, working mothers actually, they are working outside the business hours to provide that child care, and which is nearly twice as what men would do, that is only 25%. So working mothers are likely to bear the brunt of distractions from childcare, while men seek support from friends and family. So these are quite daunting reports, and we must work on this. And we also need to understand that as companies are examining a new way to live life and how to live in this new normal, they are also looking at an alternate workforce. Suddenly they are realizing that why do I need to pay this expensive rental, fan, electricity, water bill, all that, while my employees can work in a remote way. So the freelancers in India have reported some kind, they are being optimistic, but they are being very cautious towards their personal finances and their career prospects, because the individual confidence of people also, it was a testing time. They didn't know whether they'll get a job or not, and we know that right now the economy is in near recession. You look at the GDP, it's minus 23. So it is, of course, in every way it is unprecedented. So we need to look at new ways of keeping ourselves sane besides our work. There's a lot of OTT platforms. They're giving lovely movies on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, world cinema. So do educate your children, and even watch a lot of films from different movies. It is very educative, because why should you just have a one dimension perspective about things? I think cinema in itself can be very educative. So what I've been doing in this lockdown, I've been watching a lot of world cinema. And I think that is hugely educative. When you look at a movie and you critique the movie at the end, and you look at the craft of how we make films in India and how people abroad make films, that is really, really amazing. And I think we probably earlier did not have the time to actually even switch on to the OTT platforms. I used to like watch movies, probably go out once in 2 months and watch a film in the theater, but I've never been sat and binge watch films. But I started doing it because it's not only entertainment. I feel these films are highly educative, highly educative. So what I think a lot of my women friends, what they would be missing out is traveling, right? You're not being able to go to Delhi, Bombay, or even plan little vacations, Darjeeling. So what is happening is, of course, we have our Zoom meetings, we have our video calls. Please reach out to your loved ones. Do not isolate yourselves. We as a human species are social animals, and today we've been told to take steps cautiously, right? So it can be very unnerving, it can be a very challenging time, but I think a lot rests upon us how we normalize this pandemic. So I will say that yes, I have been going out every few days. I've not been going out, but I don't meet people in groups, but I still meet who I want to meet with, of course, masks on, parameters on, social distancing of 6 feet maintained. So I also, end of the day, need to keep my sanity end of the day, and also keep my children's sanity. So I do take the children out for little treats, so they don't feel this whole pull of such an unprecedented time in history where they feel that it's very difficult. So we can actually normalize this whole pandemic with children and ensure that they don't have any mental health issues. And do talk to them, ask them about their fears, ask them about what is troubling them, and how you can help them as a better parent, as somebody who can bridge the gap, and that we can help. So do educate the children in different crafts. You teach them debating skills, give them important topics to talk about, tell them to read the newspaper, ask them different questions. The idea is engagement. How do you engage them? How do you engage the children? I think that is relevant. Engagement is not only just giving them a laptop and telling them, okay, now you go on YouTube. Engaging is when you educate them. I know everyone is busy with their lives, but engaging with the children is very, very important. So what is happening is, nationwide, the domestic violence complaints that were received recently by the National Commission of Women has doubled in this pandemic. So from 30 in the first week of March, the number of complaints, it rose to 69 between March and April, and the complaints are surging as the NCW has announced it. So a WhatsApp number to receive complaints and to make it more accessible to women who find themselves in abusive homes is being shared. So we can make use, and in case you know people who are in that situation, we can always help that person who, whoever is facing domestic abuse in this pandemic. So what is happening is, like I said, the gendered roles the world over have placed domestic work squarely on the women's shoulders. And I think that's been the norm socially and culturally, because it has been demarcated as women's work. Work in the kitchen means women's work. So under these whole lockdown conditions, under these current circumstances, so domestic work can be really taxing if it's not divided in an equitable manner. So I would say you speak to your spouse. If one day you are doing the dishes, the spouse can cook for you. If one day you are cooking, the spouse can do the dusting. Why not make it equitable? Why do women want to bear the entire brunt on their shoulders? I think it is not right. I think we need to make it a more equitable kind of a situation with the spouse, and demarcate the work equally, not just gender specific, that women are relegated to the kitchen, the man goes out to work. No, it's not like that. I think the distribution of work has to be equitable, the entire load. So housekeeping staff are also unavailable because a lot of time a lot of us are not keeping staff, right? I know personally of a lot of my friends who have told the staff to go, or rather part-time staff, because we feel that they're going to 8-9 places and then coming. So what will happening is this whole thing, the chances of violence will increase manifold. Though there are of course laws, strict laws in place to protect women against domestic abuse, it is not easy now for the judicial system to break into that whole this whole this grip that this whole patriarchal system of our country has. Nor do we have the societal will where they can fight against these. However, it all depends on you. Like I said, helpline numbers are available. You feel your friend is facing it, talk to your friend, ask her to approach a professional body for help, and keep checking on people, your loved ones. People might not tell you that they are depressed, right? There are no physical signs, but it has affected everyone, and I think we need to be more sensitive and understand who is facing domestic violence. So what is happening is, of course, I'll talk a little bit about the Dalit women, of course, facing a very challenging time, because people are being beaten up, and they don't have any recourse to law where they can put in their complaints formally. So we need to ensure that anyone who's trying to reach out, we make things easier for them. So I think in case you all have any questions, we can perhaps address them. Yes. Okay, I can see some comments. If you feel you want to ask anything, you can put in the comments there. Okay. So if you need to ask any questions, you can type it out here. I'm able to see your messages, and then probably we can answer those questions one by one. So what I would iterate once again is that please look after your families, look at your work, look after your home, but at the same time look after yourself, because unless until you are not economically independent, or you're not physically keeping fit, you're looking after patients, but you are neglecting your health. It takes hardly 40-45 minutes. You don't need a one-on-one trainer. There's so many videos out there. Please take care of your physical being, your mental being, your emotional being, and keep healthy, keep sane. And I don't need to keep reminding that you are empowered. You already are empowered. You all are doctors, and I think that itself makes you empowered. So that was it, and I enjoyed my session with you, talking about women empowerment in COVID-19. You know best what to do. So thank you so much, Dr. Jana, and